Reince Priebus has just come forward and condemned Donald Trump for his Muslim remarks. Reince Priebus, the head of the RNC, as you all know, says, I don't agree. We need to aggressively take on radical Islamic terrorism, but not at the expense of our American values.
Time to get rid of him.
Time to get rid of Reince Priebus.
Exactly. Time to get rid of him.
Given that the Republican rivals have come out against what he's said about the ban on Muslims, that Reince Priebus, the head of the party, has come out, do you think that there's a chance, Tony Ann, that he would choose a third-party run?
I do, because he knows he has the people behind him. They feel very threatened by Trump. He doesn't fall into their game, or they can't put Trump in a box. And that's what we love about him. All the Trump supporters, we love that he's unvarnished, and he's just for the people.
The Republican establishment hates Trump because they're not going to be able to call up the White House when Donald Trump was president and push their way in because they gave money or they set up a meeting or set him up with donors. They were going to lose all of that influence. So there's huge money riding against him on this. And Donald uses the threat of going third party because he's trying to slap them into line and keep them from going out to him too aggressively.
Donald Trump's a master at leverage. He is going to do whatever advances the ball for himself the most expediently. And whether that means an independent run or maintaining a steady position in the GOP, he's going to do it. But the people are sick and tired of being underrepresented or not represented at all.
John, you were next.
I don't think he's going to leave the Republican Party. And I'll tell you, because he's doing so well in it right now. And frankly, when the national chair and all the other state chairs and all the other candidates, they know this is the primary, and they know that there's an awful lot at stake there. There's an awful lot of money, there's an awful lot of power, there's an awful lot of influence that they are at stake at Lewising. I think this is unprecedented, where they've had a candidate that's been number one from the beginning, that the establishment, that the leaders of the party don't want to actually represent the party.
Donald Trump signed an agreement to not run as a third party. Obviously, implicit in that agreement is that the Republican Party wouldn't fight against him. By attacking somebody within a Republican primary, being Donald Trump, he's got no obligation to fulfill his end of the contract. They've breached their contract. If he runs as an independent, if these Republicans think that we're going to fall back in line like we've done for decades, they're wrong.
What happened to Reagan's 11th commandment? There's that GOP, RNC, knife in the back. They have no place attacking any one of their candidates. And Reince Priebus just showed his true colors. It's like Goliath and David. It's like the prince and the dragon. You know, here's Trump, you know, wielding his sword, and you've got this huge flipping machine of a dragon coming after him. Who do you think the people are going to get behind?
And you know, the thing is that the Republican, the GOP, cannot control him. And that's what they don't like about him. They can control Bush, they can control Rubio, they can control all of them. For them to come out and to go to backstab him like this, you know what? I'm done with the Republican Party. I don't think he's going to leave the party, but if Mr. Trump was to go independent, I will bring all my people. We're going to send a message to Congress. We're going to send a message to the Senate. We're going to send a message to the Democrats and the Republicans and this president when he leaves.
Most all of Donald Trump's Republican rivals have spoken out against this, saying that they find his language too strong and over the top. Even Dick Cheney has said that he finds that un-American. But let me play for you what Lindsey Graham said on our air.
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. He doesn't represent my party. He doesn't represent the values that the men and women who wear the uniform are fighting for.
Interesting because
his
Donald Trump has got huge support in the military.
And he's got no support whatsoever. He is so low in the polls, you can't even find him anymore. And I wish he would just get out. He's part of the problem. He is the problem in Washington.
Yes.
He was part of this Gang of Eight with John McCain, and they refuse to close the borders. They want to let anybody come in. And you know what? If our borders were closed at this point in time, and we had a good program in place, then we wouldn't be looking at this problem right now. So, you know what? Lindsey Graham, take your bags, go home. You've insulted me, and you're an elected official. Right. Shame on you.
Amen.
There's a reason that he's where he is in the polls, because basically nobody really agrees with him. He typifies the Republican Party's impotence in this country. The reason that many of us are supporting Donald Trump is because we're tired of seeing the, at best, impotence of the Republican Party in this country.
When Lindsey Graham says that Donald Trump doesn't represent the Republican Party, Donald Trump represents the American Party. The problem with the Republican Party is they have betrayed American value. These people represent their own agenda, their own desire to use the political machine as a stair step to their own success.